Thank you so much to today's Patreon sponsors, RS Farmer Bob, Oi Monkfish, and Film Swag. Hello everyone, my name is AndrewAJT. Thank you for joining us again this week. So before we dive into our main topics this week, there is a couple minor updates that I did want to mention. So you may remember a few weeks ago, I made a whole video documenting an issue where you could be attacking someone in the wilderness, and then if you stopped attacking them for a very short amount of time, like if they were being attacked by a monster or went in the magic axe hut or left the wilderness or something, you would not get their loot if they died within a fairly short period of time. I'll link the video down below if you missed it, but that's the gist of the issue. And they actually made an update this week where it says some weeks ago, we made it harder for players to assign kill credit to a friend before going to a dangerous PvP area. This was done by reducing the amount of time a PKer can claim credit for a kill after combat ended. In this update, we've raised it again as the previous threshold seemed too low. So that is really excellent news. In the previous video about this, it seemed like it only took 45 seconds for the kill credit to reset, or somewhere in that range. I wasn't sure the exact number, but from quite a bit of testing, it seemed to be around there. And now it is higher, so that is very good news. I don't know how high they raised it. I would have to test it again a bunch to really determine that. I will let you guys know if I do that, and in the meantime, kudos to Jagex for fixing this. Also, one thing that I didn't like was they said here that ensouled heads will now appear on the same square as the rest of the loot in Dagonoth Kings, which I kind of liked when it was a different square because I don't usually pick those up, so I don't know why this was done or if it's done for other bosses as well, just to be consistent. It's not really a big deal though, but I wish it would have stayed the way it was, since I do so much Dagonoth Kings, but who knows, maybe I should be collecting the ensouled heads? Let me know in the comments if I should. I do have a soul bearer. So today I want to talk about a topic that I've mentioned a couple times in the past at least, but I've never really gone into detail about, and that is we are getting too much new content updates in old school RuneScape for sure, in my opinion, which is a really weird thing to say because in general, new content is extremely good for the game. New skilling methods, slayer, bosses, areas, it's all really good stuff, but could we actually be getting too much of a good thing? And I think we are. And the thing that makes it so bad is we have so much dead content in old school already, or content that could easily use some revamping or reimagining or at least some basic updates. And I actually thought I had an unpopular opinion here because you would expect new stuff to be a lot more exciting and popular for players. But I did a poll a few days ago and I asked what should Jagex focus on? Adding new content or revamping older content, and almost 3/4 of the voters here, and I know this is just mostly my channel so it might not be fully representative of the old school community, but still 74% of people said revamping older content would be a better focus than adding new content. That is stunning numbers. I don't think you would see that same number for really most other games. I mean, just looking at the updates and proposed updates recently, it's just overwhelming. If you look back at August, we just had the poll for a poor sign of interest, which is going to include a new quest and a new Slayer Master, which I don't really see the point of. I know Turiel's place isn't ideal, but isn't it okay to let new players explore and find their way to Berthorpe and get a games necklace? And then we just got Mahogany Homes the other day, and then on the same day that we got Mahogany Homes, we already got a new dev blog for a new fishing boss. It just feels overwhelming. Like, can we slow down here? Could we just have one update at a time? Obviously, they're only going to come out one at a time, but I would really like to take more time to learn about these updates and make suggestions, and with 3 of them at once, I feel like that's just not going to be as possible for the community as a whole. I think Jagex has good intentions. They want to give us exciting content, but the pacing is just too fast in my opinion. And when you have so much of something, the quality of it tends to be reduced. This isn't necessarily the case here, especially with 2 of them that are not even out yet, so we can't really see for sure yet. And the Mahogany Homes seem okay, but with the fishing boss, it's like, okay, it's kind of like Wintertot. The idea of a skilling boss was kind of a novel idea at the time, but getting another one just doesn't seem as exciting. As far as the new quest goes, it actually seems okay. I do like the idea of new kind of lower to mid-level content, but it seems like the idea of it is they want to help new players navigate the game better, which in general I don't really love that concept. I've talked about this before, where it's more fun when you start the game and you really don't know what to do or where to go, and you can just kind of wander around and figure stuff out for yourself. So even though I like this particular quest a little bit and Slayer Monster that it would introduce, I don't really like the reason why they're doing it. And I think the development resources for this quest and the fishing boss would be much better served put into older content. For example, the fishing trawler. It could use a hard mode or some new mechanics to balance it out, make it so you could get some more experience from it. That would probably take way less time than the fishing boss to make, and it would be so much better because it would feel like the content is more focused. You wouldn't have two different options for fishing and only one of them being good, because aside from getting the angler outfit, the fishing trawler is pretty useless. So why are we adding new fishing options when there's existing options that are terrible? And I feel like this would actually make things better for new players, because if you never played RuneScape before and you played it for the first time, you would think that, wow, the fishing trawler, that must be the best place to train fishing, right? And you would have to have someone explain it to you that, no, it's actually kind of dead content, it's an old minigame, don't play that unless you want the angler outfit. Play the new stuff that they just released. And I think that would actually be kind of discouraging as a new player, knowing that there are things in this game that are basically not worth doing. You could say the same thing about pest control and the fight pits and so many old minigames that we've talked about before. In general, there's so much opportunity to update these minigames, and it wouldn't take as long because the foundation is already there. Some of these minigames and older content only need very small changes or marginal changes to really be improved a lot. So I would really like it if Jagex took 2021 to really just focus on improving existing content. I think that would be an awesome plan for the year. Of course, we would still want some new content, but the good thing is if we had less of it, it would be far more exciting when it actually did come out. This isn't a perfect comparison, but I remember with Star Wars growing up and seeing the prequels, they would very rarely come out, only once every few years, and it was very exciting waiting for them and just the excitement and the hype building up. But then nowadays, it feels like they make a new Star Wars movie all the time. There's a new movie pretty frequently, whether it's the main trilogy or a spin-off or something. And it got to the point where it's like there's so much Star Wars stuff now that it's almost boring and I'm not as interested in it anymore. I think the term for that is franchise fatigue, which is a little different because it made me bored of all Star Wars stuff, including the old movies as well. Whereas with old school, even if they made an update every single day, I would never get bored of doing Dagonoth Kings or some of the existing content, but still the newer updates are not as exciting when there are so many of them. I don't know why there's such a focus on new stuff. Maybe it's just because in the short term, it's easier to advertise that you're making a whole new boss or minigame compared to updating an existing one, but the latter I think would make the game a lot more sustainable in the long term. Now, I also wanted to mention this poll I did, which showed that more voters would rather see account security improvements compared to new content updates. We had the account security blog in October, and that mentioned backup codes, which we still don't have, unfortunately. The development schedule indicates that we could have backup codes released in 2020. I don't know, I just feel like the account security in old school is still pretty lacking and outdated, and we don't exactly have a world-renowned customer support system to go along with it. So I would really like that to be a focus for the game as well, even if it meant we saw less content overall. And I understand the two are not directly related, like you can't just put a graphic designer in charge of backup codes all of a sudden. But if we're going to have so many new updates, I think similar resources should be dedicated to new account security features and also expanding the customer support system. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on all these topics in the comments below, and definitely hit the like button if you enjoyed and sub if you haven't already. I upload every Tuesday. You can join my clan chat in game, AndrewAJT62. You can join our Discord down below. You can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram down below, and if you want to support the channel even further, you can check out my Patreon page in the end screen. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.